What's up, team? Sean Vesta live here, and this is actually a follow-up to a comment on a video I made yesterday about the ultra-high dividend rate of Zim Logistics and Shipping. The question was, is PBR something I've looked at? Could I take a look at it and give some sort of feedback on it? So PBR is Petrobras, Brazil. They are a state-owned company, although they do trade on ADRs in the US, so they are available to invest in. And they have a wildly, wildly huge dividend. So at last check, it was somewhere north of 50% on that dividend rate. So another crazy dividend. And you say to yourself, okay, well, doesn't seem sustainable. What could go wrong? All these sort of things come to mind, right? That's sort of what I'm always thinking about when I see these kinds of things. What I would definitely call out is the fact that you have to separate out where the risk is in a company like this versus when I was talking about Zim the previous day. With PBR being state run, it means that there can be inexplicable changes to the way the company is run. Board of directors can be shifted and changed. They can bring in new leadership. They can shake up the way they go to market. They can make decisions that are better for the country than for shareholders. And as a state run entity, they have every right to do this. Now, the reason this is important to us as investors is that there is a huge chasm between the two political sides in Brazil. So, right now we've got the current President Lula who wants certain things done a certain way, right? Rightfully so. So perhaps he's saying he might recheck inflation rates. He might be looking at different kinds of interest rates. One way to do that is by looking at companies like PBR and deciding what can be done there. But what I really want to take a step back in and just say, the reason why I typically try to stay away from these types of companies. This is not meant to be taken as advice. This is just more from the macroeconomic perspective of how I approach a company like this. You, as a shareholder, have very little say already as a small shareholder in what a company does. When a company is run by the state, Brazil in this case, whatever that current political sway is in power can sway or change the way we go to market. So this could be more pumping, less pumping. This could be following with OPEC. This could be deciding to do things differently. This can be arbitrarily changing pricing. This could mean that perhaps they're trying to get rid of certain pieces of their business through divestitures that are under contract and then suddenly say, we're not doing it anymore. That just happened. So I think for me, this is one I don't hold. I have no intention of holding. It represents a large amount of risk. I am not saying that you aren't right. It could skyrocket. The dividend could keep coming at 50% forever. It's possible. I just don't think it's very likely. There's no reason to pay a dividend like this. And I think the problem we have to really keep in mind is many of the contracts that were in place to provide pricing are based on when prices were much higher or prices were shifting or maybe not stabilizing at all. So you have to really do a quick look back in time to understand where were prices when contracts were written, deriving the earnings to pay the current dividend. When that dividend comes to an end and we have to start to relook at earnings, is it likely to go down? Will that bring the share price down? Or perhaps the better question is, if the dividend's sitting at 50%, is that because the shares have fallen too far for no reason and the dividend naturally rose because of a lower share price? Or have the dividends not been cut, but folks are expecting to cut and that's why the price came down? Either way, it's a fat dividend. So I should have probably shared this on yesterday's video. I'll share it on this one just as a sort of secondary comment. Look, people are going to do what they want to do. If you don't have concerns with the government risk, with the state-owned risk, with the macroeconomic risk, with the energy pricing risk, with the contract reset risk, with the possibility of the price going up or down based on the dividend being right or wrong, if all those things don't worry you and you're not concerned with it, by all means, do what makes sense for your portfolio. If it was me, and I'm really stressing this team, I am not in this position. I am not going to pick up shares of this ADR in the US. If I was going to get into a position with a enormous dividend like we're seeing in some of these companies right now, what I would really do is make sure that I'm in a position where I immediately have something in place to protect the downside if this thing crashes under my feet. This could be using a trailing loss. This could be a stop loss, right? I mean, something's got to be in there to make sure you don't get rug pulled on these positions. because you have to really ask yourself, like, if there are companies out there paying 50%, yesterday we saw 131% dividend yields, everybody would be in them, right? The market is continuously adjusting based on the reality. A 50% dividend yield to me is screaming that there's something I don't know that I need to find out about as to why this price is so high. So that's what I wanted to share. Anyone can go through the earnings. There's no need for me to do that. You can always go and look up sort of whatever public information you have there. I just really want to speak to the fact that you're not dealing with normal risk. You're dealing with a state-owned business with political risk in a very volatile political situation. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is what it is. So with that, I'll wrap it up short. Hope this was of value. I'm always happy to go over particular names like this. If I'm not an expert, I'll make sure I tell you that, or that I'm not comfortable doing it. Otherwise, let me know. What I'd be curious is, if you drop in the comments below, do you think that these dividend yields make sense, or do you think that something's wildly out of whack? I'd really be curious what you think. Maybe I'm just looking at it the wrong way. So with that, team, as always, thank you so much. Hope you're having a great day, and take care.